Welcome to Deadline Week. It's going to be busy out on the floor. We don't anticipate late evenings this week, but just because we don't anticipate it doesn't mean that we won't have a couple days, especially probably Wednesday is the biggest target, Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm going to open it straight up to questions, see what's on your mind. Any questions with Taco Bells first, if you have any?
Do you realize that taco spelled backward is OCAT?
Oh man, that just blew my mind. No, I didn't.
You see the oil prices. What kind of impact is that going to have on this day?
It's very concerning. First off, we're trying to figure out how long-term is this change. But we've been seeing declines in number of rigs in Oklahoma consistently over the last at least 12 months. And so we're very concerned about it. Our budget is based on about $54 per barrel of oil, even in the revised Board of Equalization. So I think that we have real reason to be concerned.
If it goes down to 20 like they're talking about the impact.
Yeah, it is one of those things that we're looking into. I've had my chairman of appropriations, Roger Thompson, dealing with staff trying to look at the real impact, and we're looking at that even as we speak right now.
Could this affect any spending priorities, any things that you hope to get done this session?
Yeah, we have to live in a balanced budget, so we will be making decisions accordingly. We've got to be good, prudent users of taxpayer dollars, and we will not go into it blindly. Even though we have the February certification, we need to be mindful of what the future holds.
Could this be a really bad time to expand Medicaid? I mean, and have the state have to pay that $150 million?
Well, that's the governor's choice last Friday to do that with the state plan amendment. Coming up with the funding, I'm waiting to see a plan on that. You can make the argument, you're bringing in $900 million into that as well that will be infused into the economy and come in the form of some income tax and sales tax that the hospitals will use and get spent. But yeah, it's something we have to take into consideration.
At what point do we start to consider spending some of the money that's in the savings account or revenue stabilization?
Right now, we're eligible to spend some out of the rainy day fund. That decision has not been reached yet, though, and that will be in the coming weeks.
Can you speak to the, there were a couple changes made to how oil and gas revenues are, I guess, monitored and then allowed for appropriation. And can you also speak to last year there was some discussion about whether, to give Governor Stitt the $200 million in extra savings he wanted. That did happen. Can you speak to the impact of that in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I was supportive of the time. I think it was the right decision, and I think it'll pay dividends in this year to have that extra money that was not going to come off the top into the oil and gas stabilization fund. Collections on oil and gas always run a couple months behind, so the lag that we see in our revenues in the Treasurer's report are always about 2 months behind. I think it was extremely important to put that $200 million into the oil and gas stabilization fund, and I'm glad I was a part of helping get that done.
It's also sales tax that affects that. Or that industry also brings in a lot of sales tax, right?
Sales tax, income tax. For every job in the oil and gas industry, it counts as 2 jobs in the normal economy when economists are looking at Oklahoma's employment and what impact it's going to have on tax revenue. Oil and gas typically has been counted as 2 jobs. And so we've diversified our economy some, engineering and aerospace especially. But we're still very, very tied to the oil and gas industry. Proud of the jobs that the oil and gas industry provides in Oklahoma. But they're entering a very tough phase, and we'll see how long that lasts.
With respect to the Medicaid expansion funding, obviously there's no agreement right now. Can you talk about maybe some of the other options that are being discussed other than the SHOP fee?
Well, there's some in the Insure Oklahoma Fund. If you ramp up to 138% or 133%, depending on if you're looking at adjusted gross income or not, that frees up in the mid-30s millions of dollars out of the Insure Oklahoma on a going forward basis, because those people would be pulled into the expansion population.
That money's from the tobacco
yes.
tax, right?
Yes, sir. Tobacco cessation fund, I think, is what its technical term is. And then there's various other ways to look at. DOC You can draw down some of their appropriations because if somebody was eligible for Medicaid prior to entering the DOC population, if you've expanded, there's some money you can recoup there. Also with Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, you could draw down some funding there because there would be new people eligible that are funded by direct state appropriations now.
Do you know how much roughly those two, the DOC and the Department of Mental Health, what are we looking at?
I think combined, this is off the top of my head, around $15–16 million.
Should we have to cut, what are we looking at in terms of cutting first?
Well, we're not to the point of looking at the cuts right now. Let us get with our budget chairs and see where we're at before we start listing off where we're going to cut. We've made some very strategic and important investments in education over the last couple of years. Those are secure, and we'll make sure we defend and protect those. But going forward, we'll have to balance the budget. Unlike Washington, D.C., we have to end the year with a balanced budget, and we will do so.
Have you heard from the oil and gas industry in the last few days? Are there any requests or things they want you to keep in mind?
I've heard from individual constituents who are in the oil and gas industry, but it's more of just a growing concern about their industry, not about something the policymakers they're requesting us to do. Anything else?
Education, I noticed there's some education bills on the agenda this week for the Senate. It probably looks difficult. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So, in the past couple of years there have been education funding increases. Seems maybe a little more policy oriented this year. What can you say about the education priorities of the Senate caucus?
Well, we still want to make sure children are the center of the classroom. So 441 that we passed last year on the 4-day school week is commonly referred to, but it was really about hours and days in the classroom. We've got to make sure that we get that right. The Superintendent of Education and the Board of Education put proposed rules. We're looking, do we have to approve those this year or next year? Talking to attorneys on that because in the bill it clearly says next year, but the Administrative Procedures Act, does it trump anywhere? So everything we do is about making sure that the child is the center of the classroom and all our focus is there and all our reforms are focused to that end.
There was, I think, talk, and maybe it was more in the House, about a 3-year, if we go back to, April 2018, there was talk of a 3rd year for a pay raise. Considering everything that's going on right now, is that still part of the discussion?
Right now, that hasn't entered the discussion yet, but making sure we protect the investments. My concern really is on the pension side of if the 3 years, your last 3 years of pay, will we have a exodus of teachers who are highly qualified and well experienced? So we're looking at that right now. But as far as a 3rd teacher pay raise, I haven't seen that embodied in a piece of legislation yet.
Can you be a little more specific on the COLA?
Yeah, so the COLA, not necessarily the COLA so much, just the pay raise, $630 million additional dollars going into public education over the last 2 years. Those on the end of their, let's say they've been in the classroom 20, 25 years, when your pension is set by your highest 3 grossing years. So the highest 3 grossing years, we've always known there's a potential cliff with teachers at the end of their time in the classroom. We want to make sure we don't exacerbate that exodus.
How do you feel about the bill as moving forward through the House? I know it hasn't.
The COLA bill?
Yeah.
I personally am supportive of a stair-stepped approach to 0 to 2, 2 to 5, and 5 beyond to get a COLA to former state employees, police, fire, judges, teachers. But that's yet to be, that's just a Greg Treat position. That's not a Senate position.
Thank you. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
About Senator David's Senate Bill 1820, which would cap how much agencies can pay for legal services outside the Attorney General's office. You want to comment a little bit about that and whether you think it's a viable bill?
Well, I'm supporting that legislation, but I would encourage you to go talk to Senator David to get more details on it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator.